Siqale ngokubonga support bese sigive up back. Welcome to our show. It's called Kasi Frequency. I go by the name of Siya Booi. And yeah, man. So essentially what the show is going to be about, like I said, Kasi Frequency. We essentially going to be zooming into Ekasi townships or, you know. But I know most people Ekasi seba movile to the burbs. That doesn't matter. Sizokulandela lapha ema-burbs, but we want your story since uphuma la Ekasi, whichever Kasi it is, you know what I mean? So that's essentially what's going to be happening on this show. So basically, to kick it off, since this is the first episode, right? I'm just going to give you a bit of a background or a backstory about me, of myself, history of me in the broadcasting space, you know what I mean? Thank you, Luna. But we'll get to Luna in a second. She's our guest, by the way. But yeah, so Mina, I started back in the 2000s. I think I cut my teeth at YFM as a technician. I think I worked there for like 3 years. That's basically where I garnered a lot of experience and the knowledge that I'm gonna be using moving forward, right? And started at Y. We moved to I started with the DJ Spoo breakfast show at YFM, and then we moved to Metro FM. Quite it was brief. Our stay at Metro FM as the DJ Spoo breakfast show, right? But I stayed and I got introduced to the TSI team, which was Amon Mokwena and Tato Matabuche. I don't know if you remember Tato Matabuche from the old YFM, from the Tato and Tato breakfast show. So he was the other Tato. You know Tato Sikwane, DJ Fresh. So Tato and Tato Matabuche. I think you get the idea. So I basically worked with those guys at Metro as well. And on the TSI, the Secret Ingredient Show. And I'm saying this so that, you know, we sort of get the backstory of why this man from Ekasi, Emanzivile, Chippa, Showmachens. I don't believe I just did that thing, but yeah. So I'm just giving everybody an idea, you know. And then after Metro, I basically went to a community station. I started at a community station in Westside FM. Yes, shout out to Westside FM, Siyabonga, for putting us on, for your contribution in our careers, you know, and we really appreciate that. And that's when I got on air, because remember when I started, I was a technician. So now I got on air as a broadcaster. That's essentially where I started, you know, learning and understanding what this broadcasting thing is. And during those years at Westside, I got opportunities to basically study broadcasting and you know, and yeah, do some courses here and there. And that's essentially my journey in the broadcasting space. And that's where I met this young lady sitting in front of me, Luna. I know her as Uliseho, but she's Luna. But as we go on with the show, we'll understand why and where Luna comes from, and why Liseho becomes Luna, why Beyonce becomes Sasha Fierce. But nonetheless, let's keep it moving. So Liseho is right here with me, Luna, and she's our guest for the very first episode. I'm really grateful and appreciative of her coming through and gracing us with her presence. So I'm ngikhuluma ngawe as the third person, like she, and you're right in front of me. Luna.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming through. I'm chuffed. I'm quite chuffed having you on the very first episode. I'm super excited, man.
That's good.
Yeah. So how are you feeling today?
Well, I'm good.
I'm looking forward to the chopping it up.
Yeah, let's chop it.
So, I think first things first, right?
Yeah.
One of the reasons I was conveying the lesser story so good where I started, blah blah blah, is because there's a significance. I'm wearing a Lokshin Culture shirt, right?
Yeah.
And this Lokshin Culture shirt, we all know Guti Uwandi, right?
Yeah.
Uwandi on Monday, just passed on.
Yeah.
DJ, he's also affectionately known as DJ 1D. He had a show at Kaya, and he's an icon. So they basically started Lokshin Culture around, I think, I think the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And Tina, we were inspired by them to essentially go for our goals and go for our dreams and hustle and try to make it. You know what I mean? Because Ngatini, they found their identity. You know what? There are all these other brands, these international brands. We know them. I'm not going to say them. But how about we start our own things, and have ownership? So you can imagine how many people they inspired with them doing exactly that. Yeah, so I just wanted to pay homage, or homage, if you will, to Uwandi, you know, and for him inspiring us through and through Amachita Selokshini, and also trying to play in the space. So I basically bought this jersey then. I think 2008 when I started at Y. I think when Y was still at Rosebank. This is where I got this Lokshin culture. So it's quite dear to me, and I just wanted to, you know, pay homage. You know what I mean? So tell me, what does Lokshin culture like? What does it mean for you?
I think back in 2000s, spoken like we were before Christ. back in the 2000s, where we acknowledge the growth. I mean, like a young girl, woman comes again, and you hear of the stories and that day. You get inspired, obviously, to say, if he can do it, and how did he do it? He can do it, he did it. How can I start initiating what's mine? So that was the biggest question. And obviously it was followed with, how did he do it? How did he get it right? I mean, it hit really big, and everybody was on the Russian culture tip. And may he so rest in peace. I mean, we will forever remember his memory and his leadership. I'm just hoping that that can really impart the knowledge to others to say, this is the secret. We get to a point where we no longer share our ways and how we got to where we are. In most cases, but yeah, you understand. And how yes, we feel the gift of Lokshin culture, but how are we going to sustain and move it forward if we don't really know how it started?
Yeah, no, I think I also read, you know, when somebody passes on, right? That's when people start paying attention and want to give them the flowers, you know. It happens to so many legends already, you know. And when I was reading up on him, I found out you know, his manager at Kaya. They basically were saying how because I'd never met him. So he was umuntu o ngathini, he would easily like anikeza abantu ama opportunities, and he wasn't stingy with opportunities. The same thing that you are saying, and imparting knowledge as to how he did it and how they did it with him and Usichaba. Because I remember there was even a song, like the H2O song, Wandi Nos Chaba. They rapped about the guys. And those people, man, we really, you know, in the early 2000s, like I said, we really relished Ilento Yabo and the hype, you know. And all over radio, all over TV, we're really influenced by that. So shout outs to him, and shout outs to Uschaba as well for the Lokshin culture. And I'm saying this, Uguti, yes, we saw what they did. We can also do it and keep the some people say baton. So what do the English people say? I don't know. We'll find out. But yeah, you know, we can keep the baton going. And yeah, man, so I mean, I know there's brands in my hood, there's people. Are there any brands that you from Kasla how?
Yeah, there are.
Yeah, you can name drop.
QUOTABLES Fresh Way.
Yeah, fresh. Shout out Fresh Way. yeah
you know.
So yeah, as busy name dropping those clothing brands, right? I have like so many. I'm just gonna name a few also. Like I spoke about Deeper Wear, and I see Luna. I think I've won this game. Kinaki winning, because when I so far you've named one. Ne? So I know it's Deeper Wear. There's Spinara, and there's Ekasi. I remember Ekasi. They used to dress me a long time ago when I was starting out, and they used to, you know. I'm really grateful to Uloli. Shout out to Uloli and the whole movement, the whole thing that they're doing. Black Sounds, Amachita, La Pekasi Pekiat. Shout outs to the fellas as well.
Yeah.
I think this is a Also, there's West Rooted. I hope Machita. Yeah, there's West Rooted. So, but I was gonna say, isn't it a beautiful thing when we name drop?
It is.
Ama clothing brands to try and push, Amachita, just to show that camaraderie and that unity, because you find emakasi namaningi. I speak for my hood as well. There's a lot of division, where people are just doing their own things, and then whenever they try and collaborate, and some end up.
It never goes right.
It doesn't go.
It doesn't end well.
It doesn't end well, and sometimes people are not as keen on supporting Amachita Sekasi. Rather, they support you when they see when you're already made or you're doing big things out there in the world. Then they claim you. Do you find it? Do you find it's the same thing with your hood as well?
I relate.
Yeah.
I relate completely.
Is it the same thing in Mhlakeni?
Look at we're going through the same thing. They see you. Don't get me wrong. They see you. It's either they don't know where to place you, or they just don't prefer you right now. So we're experiencing the same thing. That division. We're trying to make it seem as if we're together. But to the practicalities, event, let's go there. Okay, then that's where you realize, there's a problem. Why OAC? So yeah, we experience it as well.
Wow, I think it's a whole other pandemic as well. This thing of the division. But nonetheless, man, enough with the politics. Let's get back to you, Miss. So, Luna, tell us about your upbringing, like the entire story from the beginning. Who's Luna?
Before Luna, there was Lesego, and there is still Lesego. Lesego is a girl, I'm the last born of the 6.
Okay, 6.
Yeah, it's not that big, the family, but
it is quite big.
No. Other parents go to an extent of having like 11 kids, Papa. So,
Sure.
So I'm the last born. I think because and probably they had complications or what, I don't know. I just assumed but decided and meant the name was the blessing as it goes, I've been doing art for quite some time. I started when I was 9, but I loved it way before. I think I was still so parents can't really give you that much freedom.
Yeah, before we get there, sorry to interject, before we get there in as far as the art is concerned, when I said the beginning, I want to know, it's Bedlela, where you were born. Lerato. I was also born in Lerato, shout out. And okay, which is in Kagiso, right?
Yeah, in Kagiso.
Okay, still in the West Rand,
the
same as Mhlakeni as well, and Manseville as well. Okay, and do you still remember preschool? Did you even go to crash?
For most parts, I don't remember a lot about my primary. Well, primary, I was a late bloomer. So, next night the activity sitting at the primary. So it was just when I go school, Mr. Sakadila Mogale, because the victim.
Yeah.
Yes, so I've always been that child. So I had to really work hard to crack that space. So you'd miss me, shame. Lanka of you didn't know. But at least my teacher on point that notice when kids are not at school. But I can't much activities go primary.
What was the name of the school?
Komalarato.
Okay.
Crashe. Graduation, because that was like the most amazing thing. I got the spotlight.
Yeah.
We were dancing, Baba, So yeah, I can't
the primary.
I have a belief that God suspended that memory of my life.
Okay.
It goes deeper than that, but the reason I have a belief that God had to suspend that memory because I went through a traumatic phase that not a lot of people, well, at least 5 people in my circle know about. I was molested when I was probably 6 years, and it happened again when I was 8. So I just remember those events. But bunzi ba nako as a child, I feel it was put, I was just moving until I got to a point where you get to stages where you explore your sexuality and all of these other things. You'll be like, hey, at some point I was 6 and this is what happened. At
at some point I was 8, and this is what happened.
Yeah.
So where bophelo ba ka ntse bo le kae? Go ntse go diragalang all these years tse di fetileng before I had to experience ke gopole ka that memory eo kile bona. So yeah.
So sorry to hear that, man. Or you went through something like that. I think psychology, they call it cognitive dissonance, where you find the mind sort of it doesn't want to recall. Like maybe let's say you go through a traumatic experience, and the mind just blocks it, and you don't want to believe what it actually happened. So sometimes you find, a lot of the times, I don't know in your case if it happened with somebody within the family, or so it's like the mind doesn't want to believe this person actually did this to me, whereas they were supposed to be the ones protecting me, you know. So I'm really sorry to hear that part of life. And I love the fact that you are able to speak about it, because I feel it's more cathartic for you. How when people talk about it, because I think a lot of people have been coming out. We hear celebrities talking and Bacho and celebrities like you as well. Libu, what exactly happened? But it's not easy.
It's not. My family still doesn't know.
Wow.
Weird, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So I had to teach myself to heal myself.
Well, they're gonna know now.
Now they're gonna know if they get the chance to watch this. How weird.
Yeah.
What a way to
So to come out. So it's
hectic.
Really, kudos to you for having the strength to speak about it, because
thank you.
They tend to they're quite sensitive, and they tend to keep you imprisoned for a long time up until you open up and you speak about it. Wow. Okay, so
it's a lot to take in.
I thought we were gonna start on a lighter note.
Let's go light. No, let's go light.
No,
I'm very light about it.
But it's fine. It is your story. So I was also gonna get into, if you remember the kind of games you played. Hano Sampano le Munyani, Booi the ball. You still remember those times? Yeah.
Would play, man. Playing is amazing. I mean,
sure.
In one space. That's where you get your freedom. To experience and explore whatever that's. So we'll play house, we'll play because I happen to be the one that's mostly in charge. So I can tell the rules of leadership from a very young age. So I'd play Mama, there would be a father in the mix.
Yeah.
So Papa in the mix. So I'd play Makusha and the Kati, the ghetto, different kinds of games.
Yeah, no, I was never the Papa. Never security. Never get security. But yeah, and Banaba win 2021 now, and the games they play, it's a different generation altogether.
They play TikTok,
Facebook, WhatsApp, it's and we're not really even shooting them down or anything, but that's how I think it's more how times have changed and things have changed. So Rona, because we enjoyed our upbringing, and we would love things to remain the same. Sometimes we just need to just let go. That was our time. You know what I mean? Okay. Before we move on from the upbringing, right? Do you remember your first boyfriend?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah, and I'm gonna.
He was not like a boyfriend. He was like a crush, man.
Oh, okay.
It was like a crush. I was 13 when I had my first kiss.
Okay.
So the Kichaketo used to stay Koma Melody, and the boys from Mamelodi, and I still remember his face. Like, come back at last here now.
So you haven't seen him?
I'm with you.
You haven't seen him since?
No, go on. I mean, come back at last, so I haven't seen him since.
Yeah.
I still remember his name, Kikahiso.
Yeah.
Koma Melody. And
okay.
The kiss.
Yeah. Wow.
It was a fest, so there's no way I'll forget.
Yeah. Same here. I also remember. I don't know if I should say her name, because I can't decide between. Because there was. I can't decide between. Hey, but I think I'm gonna implicate myself.
Yeah, you're gonna get arrested.
Let's
leave it.
It's about you.
The first kiss.
It's about you. So, nonetheless. So you Wapila, right? And you doing whatever you playing as kids. Now, how does the creative bug or the music bug, when does it hit you? And also, do you immediately think I can actually do this thing, or you are just doing it, nje?
I think I was 9 when I started initiating the thought. Because when you play, you realize, oh, ke rata ho jive, ena re jive re tla be re tshisa bo Sarafina, wa bona re etsa di mango groove, mara re le mo strateng.
Yeah.
So then at 9, I learned about this organization, Bareke Hopiso. So then I spoke to my mom, and she agreed. But she was against the times, because then we would have to practice after school. And that would be like between Boma 3 until Boma 6. For her, it was very late. My mom is very strict. 5 o'clock, you must be at home. So, but she agreed. It kept me going from 9 years until then. And I think it was my big brother, Nasita Limo Ate. So because he could see who Kirato Jaiva was starting and he put Habana, Kin that Layatlating, Stohana Tlating, Kaba put him starting Fali. And he was like, listen, I think you love this thing. So I don't kape. Started making kappa bill. Then we would go years go school saying, give share back you observe. And then I said, I love the space. I love being here. I wish I could come here more often. That's how it started. Guaranteed. I fell in love with arts. I did everything. I did everything from gamboots dance to Sarafina Mango group, then acting yampa stress Maria, nebampa di roles because I couldn't act, but I wanted to do everything. So they were kind enough to allow me to cry at least more sketchy. Back in the days, they usually sketch. Or something, or something, but I was kept busy because hey. Should you tell me you don't have a part? I'm moody. The days it's a dance, I don't participate. So they had to make a plan.
Do you remember the songs, like the soundtrack of that time, like the songs you would sing to? Because I mean, when creatives, when we start, we sing along to songs. Obviously, you do renditions of people famous songs.
Yeah.
So do you remember the songs you?
So I was doing lead. Yes, Sarafina, back in the years. But I loved how our director previously, I was there and taking leadership, limiting more. So I still remember everything.
Nice.
I mean, that's a space I love. So there's just no way.
Where you
that much. I know, Apela, you must be original and be authentic to yourself.
Okay.
Kanako eo Nasi the one for me. She was just this big artistic understanding. I couldn't relate. I couldn't even Gami Dodo Nixa relate. Ki relate le Brenda Pitla Vulin. That's when I was like, oh girl, we are here, Baba.
Yeah, REKAOFELA.
Honestly, that's my truth. So Tabatao Kebeki gets a typical South African. What Brenda bar inspire and Ben and this. I was not there.
Okay.
Can I be honest with myself? Brenda services njaktanda kota then shem niksawbo. Yeah, siyambonge.
It's bonge honesty.
It's appreciated, right?
Okay, now fast forward to now when I meet you, right?
Yeah.
At home, I have like a CD, a copy of an album released by you. It's called Sunna Papa, and I think it dates about 12 years. 12, 10, 11 years back?
Yeah, somewhere there.
So take me to when I met you at the community station, Sunna Papa. Like, what was happening?
Sunna Papa came at a point in my life where I was transitioning. Remember, so I felt like I'd hit the ceiling.
Okay.
And I said, God, I had an honest conversation with him. I want to do art for a living. But most South Africa, dancing is not enough. America, dancers buy houses. More, the reality is different. What else? So that's when I started learning how to sing. I guess we've got born singers and we've got people that teach themselves how to sing. So that's when I started to teach myself how to sing. Yes, we would sing. As long as it's off key, it's enough for the performance. But when you get to a commercial space and you want to really make a living out of art, then you start taking precaution and lessons of other important things. So at 19, at 18, I'd stopped doing art industrially. Let me say your industrial theater and your dramatic and all these other things. I started going to work. I was fortunate to supply chain, but I ran for a year because I wanted confirmation. Remember I said, go and I had a conversation with God, I want to do art for a living.
Yeah.
But I wanted to confirm whether I'm making the right decision. And at that age, I said to him, give me employment. That will then confirm for me if this is the best decision for me. And then, lucky enough, 2018 late, he blessed me with a job. Supply chain. Nice profile. Who doesn't want to work at the municipality? Me. A year later, I resigned.
So God answered.
Yeah, he answered. I had to experience the corporate. I had to experience the 9 to 5, and I knew that's not where I belong. Because I was frustrated. As I enjoyed, but I figured there must be more to life than this. Modimo batho ba ba travelang ba khona travel ka mesebetsi ya bone le go nna ke tla be ke tlhola ke nga ile go ke tshwantse ke koma le mo maboteng a for mphakela ka 7 o fitla ka 4 I can't. I quit a year later and I pursued art. That's when I met a person who ke dirileng Sunna Papa le ena. When ke ne ke tswa mo re ne re dira all that, I explained Setswana, gamboots dance and industrial theater and now you're moving to a space where there's like studio recording and it's a new language. So for the first few years, for me, it was a learning experience. Yes, it came with that album that didn't really go that far. And I think for the reasons take about to touch on a little bit later on. So for me, it was a learning experience, more that phase. It was new, the language was new, the environment in Cha. You get to the studio, handle, the microphones, how to use your earphones, how to articulate when you're singing, because that's also important. So you don't just go in and so you
and it comes out perfect first time.
It took a good year to get the album done, and simply because Linda creatively I was unavailable. I create new space comes with new everything, and you now learn what is songwriting. You now learn the instruments and how does everything. So how jahili anything really? And negele mo staging when exaggerate anything. Neke record if it didn't work, it didn't work. Ha ke tsene mo studio ga go padile ga go berekile, yep, but you understand. So Sunna Papa came at a time where ha ke se ke release it at 20, I think, because it took a year. Ha ke se ke release it at 20, it laid a good foundation for me. So I would get like your corporate gigs from it and your social gigs. You'd go to weddings and it was nice.
Did you get to, sorry to interject, did you get to perform for exposure? we all get that.
Show me which artist didn't, and I will tell you why. We did. I mean, for a very long time. For a very long time. And I think majority of it was intentional. You as artists, we need to learn to protect our art. But we can only do so much. Also, we can only do so much, but we need to protect our art. Exposure. I can imagine Mapodisa are feta mo phase of exposure. Do policemen ever go through a phase of exposure? I can imagine.
I'm wondering the same thing.
Yeah, we need to avoid it. Now when somebody says, "Yo, you're an artist, yeah, sing for me," I'm like, okay. If I was a policeman, you're going to say, "Shoot me."
Aish.
You understand? This is business for me. True. You can't just go around saying, people, I'm a lawyer, can I represent you now? Your honor, you can't. Why is it when it comes to art, everybody feels entitled to a showing shortly? Or to mini ad? We can't. So I went through a phase of yeah, but I remember hey, Kima. What Sunna Papa? Okay, go woods. Oh, okay. No, she can come through. People have paid 150 at the gate to come in. And when you want to divulge and talk about that, it's politics. It's another story for another day.
That's what I've always had a gripe with. The fact that you get called to perform for exposure, but there's gate takings and gate fees, which never made sense to me. And promoters be watching you. But
at some point, it's not even an issue at the promoters. Look at the artists, we tend to think most of don't deserve that. And I think we are to blame as well. I care the amount of work that you put in will also yield the results. So if you put in 8 hours of work, definitely you know you are good at your job, because then you're doing it full time. Then you must feed from that. But how only a woman, you've got a man that's providing for your financial needs, maybe for example, you tend to not think it's important that you must charge until you are dumped and starving. So it takes dry environments for artists to really say, "No, but I can't work for free." But until they get to a point where they are dry, they compromise. And I was one of those artists who could compromise. Hence, I'm able to talk about my history. Say, I also got to a point where I compromised. It takes how much to record an album? But I went to free gigs. And performing in our opera store, and I fully were. What the roll on? Where when you are out here sweating, calling your like Mom Keys in, Mom Keys is like, hey girl, you got it.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Wow.
Do you put a cook? Who's gonna buy that?
Wow. Yeah. I also like how you put it when you say creatively you were unavailable. I feel that's quite profound.
Yeah. We don't want to learn.
Yeah.
We need to allow learning to happen.
At the time when you first started record.
Yes.
Wow. And then so Sunna Papa comes out. What happened? Did you release another album? Did you get into altercations with the people?
We got into
with the people you were working with?
Yeah.
So I just wanna. Now we want the juice. We want the.
We got into an altercation. So this is what happened. Now we record an album. The information is still fresh. Experience incha and here's a movie. Even when you perform commercial, and from that large group to now you branding yourself as a soloist and you going on stage alone. It was a learning curve for a good 4 years. And I think Sunna Papa is sustainable because there was a time when I think it was man, corporate gig. And then no, yeah, no, then I started paying attention. So there is administration. So I had to learn how to administer my talent. Because now we are taught as artists there's a manager, but you don't know how to manage. And you don't know who's big between you and the manager, who's boss. You understand? Because as artists, when you work for people, they get to a point where they teach you a manager is bigger than you. But I guess for me, it was a phase that I needed to go through so that I can have gather as much information from the person who I thought so manager ke mo accountisa mo le mo go ke tlabe ke shepua ka mpama ge di mphetelo di pay mo go di tsena I mean 22 23 you wouldn't really we tsebetseng ka cheleta ke so how ke ile 500 o sharp you know
so just to come in there Mpama, please explain because GBV
not Mpama physically I mean ba go ropekelelo let me just be frank ba go ropekelelo and they would rob you off financially as well so they would have
you get that bad.
No. So dintwa tsa gona di got to a point ga ke ne ke feel like ke reachitse ceiling. Now remember ha ke tla go wena ke le 19 when I'm 25 you're still telling me the same story. We are going to have a problem. It means I've caught up. And ha ke catch up ile go tshwana le mme a godisa ngwana. Ha mme a godisa ngwana you need to identify the stages tse di different tsa childhood ya ngwana o. Now ngwana o fitla mo stage where I catch up. And when I for that's when we see kids are becoming rebellious. They are not. They've reached a ceiling. You can't be telling me not like an aeroplane at 19. Hardly like an aeroplane. Let's be realistic. Lena, I grew to a point where this guy can no longer lie to me. I've done my enough research. I've gigi like sharp. Can you give me something else? And there was nothing to offer. I left. That's when I started realizing my worth. Okay. Are you saying how much is the gig? Look, also concluding in front of me, it means there's no gig. I'm the one that's doing the job. When you're negotiating, I need to be at the other side of the table to listen to negotiation. You are my manager, yes, but I have to conclude the deal. So as soon as it got to that point, there's a rift. Now, once you become independent and you gather information as an artist and you start to develop yourself individually, so you'll start hearing words like you are big-headed, that's when you are on the right track. For me, it was a mark to say, it's time for me to leave. So I left it, I think, around 25, 26, but it was very late because I'd missed out on school years and I wanted to go study jazz. During the phase where I was still 19, 20, I wanted to go study jazz. And like any other child, no, so be ready. You know, you are still performing. It's going to take long. You know, jazz. And let me tell you, a weak mind is a man. How can manipulate your mind about it? Once your life can gravitate or revolve around somebody else's thinking, even your decisions are going to be based on that influence. So Lynn, the influence I had, I can't blame. But I understand in particular at a very fragile stage. So it was easy for me to be manipulated into thinking differently about other things. So only after I wanted to discover who am I. Because Kwale, I was called Itura, or Bella Sunna Papa, or you are doing educational programs for kids. There's Masai Sare there. You are an ambassador of the company. So I was sold dreams. But that looked very nice. Because what's the artist Barata Spotlight? You understand? So I was there. I was at a point where I was sold beautiful lies, and they came in perfectly. You understand? No album is going to hit. No, the album is not hitting because Awopele Sharp. You need to go back to the studio and imagine being told Awopele Sharp, somebody still keeping you. Why are they still keeping you if you're not productive or financially capacitated to bring in the money?
You know, also the reason I wanted you to tell that story, you find a lot of artists, a lot of people who are creatives, Magodi started in Magodi Koning, and they got done in like you did, you know, and they got duped, which is the fact that it's still happening to this day, and nothing is happening to the people to try and to combat such things, which is essentially what we want to do, this work that we're doing also, you know, to try and, you know, it's quite cliche. People say, no, we want to make a difference, we want things to change, but we now starting to act in as far as why people get artists or creatives duped, and which is really not fair. Well, it's really not fair, but nonetheless, so the album, and then after Sunna Papa, what happens then? Do you release another album? How many albums do you have now under your belt? And because I also like your story, it's quite the fact that you managed to come out of whatever dark place you were at or whatever that situation was. I love the fact that you know, God kept you and you managed to come out of it. So did you release another album? Or it was just singles? I know a few songs of yours as well after that Sunna Papa.
It was I wouldn't say an album, no, but I say a single.
Okay.
But I released an EP. And that was like a few years later. In between, after leaving, I was going through a phase of self-discovery. So I was trying out different things. And
is this when you met Mjakes?
No, Mjakes is very recent.
Oh, okay.
Mjakes is very recent. So it was a phase where I was exploring myself. So I got married at 26. Yeah, that was like at that stage. At 26, I got married. And then life happened. 4 years later, I divorced. But in between the 4 years, I started recording elsewhere, Jazz Works, trying to push a single to get it ready. And I mean, it was coming okay. I registered a company called Zina Entertainment, and I found an investor that's gonna put in the money in the company. Because here's what, after the experience I got with the people that I worked with on a project, Sunna Papa, I said to myself, I no longer want to be a signed artist. And I think I experienced a lot of bullying, a lot of information not coming through. I felt like a robot. I was told what to do, what not to do, how to do it. You understand? So a part of my artistry was compromised.
So just coming there, how do you get to now Jazzworks? Because I know Jazzworks is quite expensive.
It's expensive.
It's a quality, you know, studio, and you know.
You hear Lira, you hear Jazzworks.
Yeah.
So I got an investor first. So I sat down and developed a proposal, and that was a phase where I got married, and I went to school and I studied jazz, majored at my piano there, and I chose an instrument. I did piano, and then during that year, I sat down. I started songwriting. I think school helped me unleash quite a few things because we would be taught how to work our way around the piano and all of that. And in the midst of that, I would still create something. So that's when I knew, there's a creator in me. Because remember how I knew somebody says, I've got a song for you. You're not even given an opportunity to jam what's in your head. Somebody says, I also listen here. So So I started developing a proposal. Or who do I approach? I started identifying a few potential investors. Worked on the documents, approached the investors, and everything worked okay. The guy was like, "I'm into the idea. I love where you want to go with this. Let's do this." So we had partnered initially, and lenyalo la ntshenyetsa yo batho. Yo, hey, South Africa. Like lenyalo la ntshenyetsa. I'm very frank about this, and it's a painful reality that a lot of divorcees don't want to talk about. I'm a very proud divorcee, and I think I made a very, how do I say this? I made a very smart decision to divorce. Not because I didn't love anymore, but I felt it was not financially benefiting me.
Okay.
I love the man, but I can only future. And in terms of my career, I feel it's going to fail before it even takes off. Because understand, when you're marrying to a guy who thinks a woman's job is in the kitchen and you are now dealing with a lot on the plate. You go to school, 14 hours, only busy attending a school. You must come back and become a wife after classes. And I was a wife after classes. And after, you must know, in the process of wifing, there's cooking, there's gymnastics, there's everything in the process of being a wife. So I had to carry all those duties. In the meantime, I get exhausted. Creatively, I was dying. Because howly exhausted 24 hours is this much when you've got so much to do. And I felt I'm not going to quit school. I'd rather take a pause. So after I did my N4 music performance, I took a pause because I was exhausted. I maintained life of being a married woman while doing art. Then art started to not serve me anymore because I became pregnant. I performed during my pregnancy till I was 9 months because I felt I'm not going to lose gigs. I need to sustain this. So I was always competing to get myself, you understand, felt, and it was a lot. So lenyalo li demandile too much of my time. That thing was too much for me.
Which then brings me to this point, Luna. I mean, I hear how you now say post lenyalo. You know how you view your views. So would it be safe to say it was your experience or lenyalo la? As opposed to maybe a blanket statement to say lenyalo is not really serving.
Marriage is beautiful.
Like as an institute, lenyalo.
Marriage is a beautiful institute. I'll do it over and over and over again. Yeah. I think what was wrong was the timing, because I was still discovering myself and I was not willing to sacrifice on a lot of things, especially where art is concerned. I felt I'd lost a lot of time trying to live according to people's rules and at that age. So now, I'm 25, 26, given the freedom, here comes this guy who's going to tell me, the gigs, you can't be going to gigs so late. Now I must explain stupid things like, why can't you like too? Like, dude, it's performing local papung. Where else do you expect? You explain small things that are not supposed to be really issues. We understand. So lenyalo can twist sharp, but do it over and over again.
I love that. Lenyalo is a beautiful institution. Disclaimer: lenyalo is a beautiful institute. It's something that is endorsed by God. God wants us to get married, to have, to be in what to be in a wedding.
Yeah.
So
I did that. Yeah, I divorced at 30. I'm 31 now. Okay. Well, in 2 days' time. I met Mjakes when I was 30.
He's a legend in the industry. He's done so much. He's responsible for so many artists, for so many projects. Your Kelly Kumalos, your
Naima K.
I mean, at TS Records, he was hands-on with the late Upra Robi Malinga.
Yes.
And yeah, so you can't just say you met Mjakes. You must tell us, how do you get to, because not everybody gets to work with Mjakes, the man behind the boards, the keys.
So because I've always made decisions based on how I wanted things, not how I felt. And I value how I feel, but I don't make decisions based on feelings. Okay. I dropped the business because it didn't work for my marriage, but later on realized lenyalo ke problem, not the business. I dropped the marriage and went to business. So business, and I went to the idea again, revisited the idea of saying, I'm not going to be signed. I worked now, got another investor. I was fortunate. Investor came in on board again. Different person this time.
When you get
we will pray harder. So I got the investor. Not a blesser. Let's get it right. Investor, meaning where there's investment, there's repercussions, there's benefits, returns on investment. That's business, yeah. So I've got an investor, and investor, okay, so who do you want to work with? And I'm like, you know what? I'm getting to a point where, Kahola, I don't want to explore. I don't want to take risks. I want to make sure your money comes back as with profit. I need somebody that's experienced. So we sat down and analyzed who in the industry wants to is in the line of the direction I want to take, because I want to do Afro soul and pop and stuff like that. So I said, Robbie got sick. It fell off. Didn't happen when it was supposed to happen. Yes, we had meetings with Robbie, but it happened that timing is not right.
So
a year later, things didn't work out.
Yeah.
Got the first initial agreement. I went to the same investor and said, hey, Papa, remember we had a deal. I'm very persistent. Hey, Papa, remember you were going to invest. So now I've got another person. Who's that? Mjakes. How do we get him, Mjakes? I don't know. And was like, but listen, come on, how do you get him? But I know politicians. I'm like, okay, there's a guy that I know that I think politically he can hook us up. Mm-hmm. Okay, we call the politician. Do you happen by any chance to know Mjakes? Oh yeah, I got his numbers. We partnered with Mjakes.
I love that. You were not just excited to you're gonna get signed, you're getting so which then is informed by your past experiences and everything that had happened
previously.
Sunna Papa.
Yes.
Sunna Papa, right? Which is awesome.
Hence, I wake up in the morning and I say, thank you, Pastor, and who I am because of you. I had to sit down and acknowledge the pains and everything else that came with my past, and it got me to where I am today. So come Mjakes, I released my first EP, and you must know creatively, I got to a point where I was exploring now. Ne? I was like, there's amapiano. Okay. And then Afro Soul is lacking because you need to understand stages to industry. Ha Afro Soul ishwanyana bona ka ba didimetse bo mme bana ba opela monate ba then gona le amaniki like how do we come in rona ba ba opelang gona le bo maniki bana ba ba apara di crop top, where do we fit in there? And I said Afro Mapiano. I fused the two together.
So that's a new genre.
That's for me. I mean, I'm a creator, right?
Okay, yeah, no, definitely.
So we took Amapiano and Afro Soul and we did Afro Mapiano. That was my first EP. So if you go on all platforms on social media, you key in Afro Mapiano Luna, you will find my sound there. That's my first EP. Though it doesn't change the fact that I'm still working on an Afro Soul album because the market is picking up now.
Nice.
Yeah.
So this is now. This is what's happening now.
This is currently.
Right?